How's it going? I'm Anthony, and these are stories of my life. For those of you just joining us for the first time, these videos are a cognitive therapy tool for me. I've taken some head injuries over the years, my memory's been failing me, and the doctors have suggested that I make these videos to preserve the memories I still have, as well as inspire some of you all who are involved in these events to provide me with details I may have lost or otherwise remind me of events I've completely forgotten. In which case, then I can either remake an old video for you with the new details like I am now, or make a whole new video for you and kind of go from there. So I'm sure you get the idea. At any rate, building off of the last video, the events of this one do take place in the latter half of 1992. That would have been in my sophomore year at Riverside Polytechnic High School. I would have been 14 years old, living with my father in a one-bedroom apartment at Quail Creek Apartments off Horace and Arlington Avenue, right down the road from the school. And that summer, I don't have a lot of memories. I know I mentioned one or two in the last video. If you haven't seen it, go ahead and check it out. They're kind of fun. Beyond that, I couldn't really give you much more. I know I spent a lot of time hanging out with Jim and Gabe and all them. Spent a little bit more time hanging out with another guy named Chris Teague. And yeah, can't give you many more details other than that. Now, once the school year started and we were all walking to school every morning, I ended up making a new friend. There was this kid that lived up towards where Richie Barbo was at, up on Horace, and we would end up connecting with him about the same time that he would walk to school as well. So we ended up walking with our group. And him and I started talking, and he had a similar background that I did. His mom was a single mom, but she was kind of an alcoholic, kind of crazy, if I remember right. He was living with his grandparents, and they were extremely strict. Now, his name was Corey Watson. Now, Corey and I ended up becoming very good friends very quickly. And like I said, I think it was just we understood each other. He knew my background, I knew his, and we got it. We got each other. And through Corey, I ended up making another friend named Mark. And then between the three of us, we ended up making a whole lot more friends. But him and Mark ended up spending a lot of time together. And Mark and Corey were both smaller guys like I was. Mark might have been the tallest of our group. Corey might have been the most well-built of our group. But we all had different attributes. But we were all small guys. But anyway, Corey and Mark and I, one time, were all up at the Canyon Crest Town Center, hanging out. We watched a movie, whatever. But I ended up meeting this girl up there, and her name was Carla Olivas. Carla had a friend named Heather. For the life of me, I can't remember Heather's name. But Heather was a super sweet girl too. But Carla and I started talking a lot, and eventually started dating. The problem was Carla had a ex-boyfriend that was extremely jealous and possessive. He just couldn't accept that they were no longer together for whatever reason. I don't know the details on why. I don't know what happened with the relationship. Don't know. No clue. But anyway, that's what was going on. So one time, Carla and I were hanging out at the town center. I think we had some of our friends with us. And this kid, David, I don't remember his last name. I think it was Fwanson or something like that. But anyway, this kid, David, ended up running his mouth at us, talking crap because he had all his buddies with us. And he had a big, pretty good sized squad that he would roll around with, same as us. And there was one or two guys in the group that we knew of, and but we didn't really know everybody else in the group. But as much crap as they talked, David would always say, "Come on, man, you want to fight or whatever?" And I'd always like, "Let's go." Force on force. My whole group would have smeared his. Just because we had some guys in our group that were pretty lethal. But anyway, it never happened. I wish it would have, but it never did. But the problem is that they always said that if they ever catch me up at the town center alone, or anywhere alone for that matter, that I was going to get my ass beat. And so Jim and Gabe and Mike and all them, they just always used to tell me, do not go up there alone. Do not go up there alone, because they didn't want that to happen. And again, I'm the little guy of the group, so of course you could look out for the little guy. But there was one time Carla and I wanted to hang out. It was perfect night to do it. But wouldn't you know, None of my friends could go. None of them. Jim couldn't go. Gabe couldn't go. Mike couldn't go. Nobody could go. Nobody could be up there. Chris wanted to go. Corey wanted to go. Everybody wanted to be up there. Nobody could. Nobody could. Just happened to work out that way. So, you know what? I'm going to go up there anyway. I'm not afraid of this kid. I know how to handle myself. So I go up there. I meet up with Carla. Heather happens to be there. Heather, I think, was hoping that one of my other friends would be there, but, they weren't. But I hung out with the two of them. We went to a movie and, did whatever else. And we ended up over at Pizza Hut. And our buddy Mike Maloney was working. So I see Mike behind the drink counter at Pizza Hut, and Carla and Mike and Heather and I were all just kind of shooting the shit with Mike. Lo and behold, wouldn't you know it, all of a sudden I look over at Carla and I see her face just turns ghost white. And I realize that some people have come up behind us and just kind of surrounded us from behind now. And I look up at Mike, and Mike kind of looks to his left, looks to his right, behind me, and goes, "Well, looks like you got some friends." I start laughing. I look over my shoulder and I kind of acknowledge that these guys are there. I look back at Mike, go, "Yep." But I just ignore him. I just keep shooting the shit with Mike. And I know David's standing right behind me. And finally he just says something stupid like, "What's up, punk?" And I just keep talking with Mike and keep talking with Carla. And, didn't really respond to David. Then, out of nowhere, David kind of gets closer and kind of leans in so he makes sure that I hear him. And he says, "You want to step outside?" And he kind of backs up like, "Yeah, I called him out." And so he's all proud that he did this. And he did not expect me to say yes. But as soon as he said that, I look back at him and I go, "You know what? I would love to." And all of a sudden you just see this look of shock just go over his face. Like he's just, holy crap. He didn't expect it. So I look at Carla and I say, "Carla, I will be right back." And I turn to Mike. I kind of tap on the counter like this is going to be fun. And I go to walk out the door. Well, I don't think David expected this, me being the little guy that I was. Those two friends that I had mentioned, Corey Watson and Mark Smith, anyway, we being the little guys, we knew that we needed to learn how to defend ourselves. So Corey and Mark and I, for fun, would have full contact fighting. And the way it would work out was one of us would play referee, judge, instructor, kind of, while the other two fought full contact. So if Corey and I were going at it, we'd just sit there banging each other in the face or hitting full throttle, kicking, punching. Mark would sit there and critique what we were doing. And at any given time would say, whoa, stop. Anthony, Corey came at you like this. What you did didn't work. Try doing this or try doing that. Or Corey, come at him this way or whatever it might be. If Mark saw a flaw in something we were doing, he would say, okay, maybe this might work better. Or maybe that might work better. None of us were trained fighters, so we didn't know, martial arts by any means. So we had to teach ourselves how to fight trial and error, right? And so that's just how it went. So then sometimes, we would switch. I'd end up being the referee, judge, or I'd fight with Mark and Corey would be it or whatever it might be. And we would do this all the time. So I got really good at taking punches because we were throwing full contact because we figured the only way you can really learn is you got to be able to go full speed, full strength, full throttle. And that's the only way you're really going to learn. So that's what we did. Well, eventually we got to the point where we were doing 2-on-1, where Mark and Corey would start beating me up. So we had to learn how to take on two opponents or, switch it around, whatever it might be. And then, whoever saw something would stop it and be like, "Oh, Anthony, do this. This is how you handle this and that." Eventually we started getting more people into our little fight club, so to speak. And it ended up being 3-on-1, 4-on-1. We'd just still do a lot of 1-on-1 stuff. But everybody would start throwing their 2 cents in on what would work, what wouldn't. So we started, grappling because we had some guys that had a little bit of wrestling experience, grappling, knees, elbows, punching, kicking, you name it. Me being a soccer player, I was always real big on the kicks. But we had our own fight club, and we'd been doing this fight club for a while. But it wasn't a fight club to just kick each other's ass. It was a fight club to learn how to fight. And so I couldn't get into martial arts, neither could anybody else because our parents couldn't afford it. But this did the trick. So now I've got this kid, David, who's walking outside with me because he wants to fight me, but he has no idea that I've been doing this. So we get outside, and David and I are face to face, and there's this little area out in the back of Pizza Hut that's real dark, so you can have a fight and nobody would know that it's even going on. The funny thing is there was a ton of people outside. I figured it would be David and I and his friends and maybe any passersby that were there. But next thing you know, there was like 30 people out there. And so David and I are facing off, and David's squared up and he's got his hands up, and I'm just standing there with my arms at my sides, like looking at him like he's fucking stupid, right? And David's just, well, are we going to go or what? And I'm like, go? And I actually said this out loud. Go? The fuck? What do you, go? Like, dude, you know what? This is your fight. You do what you got to do. And he goes, come on, man. Swing. I'm like, no. Your fight. If you want to swing, be my guest. And David he was afraid. He was afraid to swing. And then finally one of his friends goes, swing, David, swing. And so David finally steps up and throws this gigantic haymaker at me on his right hand. Dude might as well have had a neon sign that said, hey, I'm swinging at you right now. Look, because the way he telegraphed the whole thing and whatever else. So just block, And then he ends up throwing a left-handed hook and then just block. And then he ends up throwing another punch, block, and then he ends up throwing a kick. So I check his kick, and I don't even swing at him. I just keep my hands just casual. And at that moment, after I checked his kick, I think he was getting ready to throw another punch. All of a sudden, somebody yells, 5-0! Because the cops happen to be coming around the corner, as they did every now and then at the town center. And David freaks out, turns around and runs like a bitch, right? And at that exact moment, all of a sudden I get hit from behind, right? I take a couple shots in the head, I remember one that hit me in the back, and took a few more, like I think in the side. But anyway, I'm pissed now that David's running. So I chase David, I run him down in the street, managed to catch him out in the road right behind Pizza Hut. If you go out the back door, it would have been slightly off to the left. But anyway, I caught him out there. I ran up and I got my hand on his shoulder and spun him around. And as soon as he spun around, he threw again this gigantic haymaker, and I block, and I give him this uppercut right in the sternum. And he just, and as soon as he buckled over, I leaned down, grabbed his leg, picked him up in the air, WWE style, and slammed him straight down on his back, his shoulder, his head. And it was a great sound when he landed. It was just this like thud, crunch, thunk, all at the same time. And he hit hard, man. He hit really fucking hard. Like it was pretty bad. But anyway, then as soon as he landed, I then dropped all my weight onto a knee right onto his stomach, which gave off another good sound. But anyway, so I wind up, I think I hit him in the face one time, and as I was winding up for a second, all of a sudden I get hit from behind. And like it was a flurry of stuff, man. I could take a few shots in the head, took one on the side of the face, got kicked in the back, and somebody finally grabbed me and yanked me off of David. So now I'm stumbling trying to get up, right? And I take a few more shots as I'm trying to get up, but I finally get to my feet and I get my hands up, block a couple of punches, crack some fool in the face, hit another one in the jaw, get another one like right here somewhere, or like glanced up and caught him in the throat. He turned around, backing away. Another guy came at me. I soccer kicked him right in the side of the knee, which hyperextended his knee, so he ducked out of the fight. Ended up taking two more people coming in this way. I'm getting hit from all sides now, right? Ding, 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 and I'm punching and kicking, and I took a lot of shots, but I dished him out too. But I know there was at least two guys that I took out of the fight. And then David recovers. He jumps back up to his feet, and instead of joining his friends in this fight against me, he starts crying, turns around, and runs like a bitch. And so what do? I go to chase him. But at the same moment, what ends up happening is the cops now show up on scene, and they start yelling over the loudspeaker, right? But I don't care. I'm chasing David down. So his friends all scatter. David's running. I'm chasing after him. And I'm pretty damn fast, so I figured I could have caught him. Nope. You ever seen a guy run when he's scared? Oh my God. This fool was freaking fast. It was like a goddamn cheetah. He ran so quick. I thought for sure I could have caught him, but no, it didn't happen. Anyway, I'm running behind him, and he's just pulling away. I couldn't catch him. Anyway, we end up going up this hill, and I end up chasing him into this apartment complex across the street. And if you knew the area of this apartment complex has a lot of vegetation, a lot of trees, and at night it was also really, really dark. So at the same time, I wanted to catch David, but I kind of abandoned that because I knew I couldn't. He was just too damn fast. But I also didn't want to get caught by the cops either. So I got into this area and I ducked down and hid. So as I'm sitting there waiting to see what's going to happen with the cops, to make sure that we're not being followed or anything like that. And if we were, I was going to casually walk out like, hey guys, how's it going? Like, you don't know what I was doing. But no cops came. And as I start to stand up, I hear talking off to my left. And I look over there, and sure as shit, 50 feet away is David with all of his friends. So it was like all 7 of them. So I'm like, oh, no kidding. So now you got to understand this situation. I'm in an area that's dark. There's no one around. The nearest apartment's pretty good ways away. Nobody can see in there. Nobody can hear anything. I've got no backup, no friends, nothing. And 50 feet away, there are 7 people who just jumped me and would probably love to do it again. So what do? My stupid ass walks up to all 7 of them talking shit. Yep, that's what I did. So I walk up to them just running my mouth, and I focus my attention on David. So I walk up to David. I don't even care about his friends. I walk up to David, and I'm just running my mouth, calling him every name under the sun. I'm just, saying, David, you got no fucking balls, and blah, 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 blah. I'm degrading his manhood, calling him a little girl. I don't remember all the things I was saying, but it was bad. It was probably some of the worst trash talking I had ever done in my entire life. And I just was degrading him to the point where he looked like a sad little puppy dog. And finally, I got to the point where I brought the friends into the equation. And I was like, yeah, you can't fight your own battles. You got to rely on your friends to do it for you. And finally, I look at his friends and I go, and why the fuck do you got to jump into his fight anyway? And at that golden moment, one of his friends, who was kind of a littler guy, but stout dude, big stout dude, little guy though, says, because we didn't want to see him get his ass beat. As soon as he said that, I just shut up. I couldn't say anything else. There was really nothing else that needed to be said. I mean, he kind of encapsulated it all. At that moment, David's friends confirmed that David was going to get his ass beat. There was no fight that was needed at that point. And I just sat there looking at him, just kind of shook my head, looked back at David with this look of utter disgust. And I turned around and I walked away. Just turned my back to him, just walked away. And about 3 to 5 seconds later, David all of a sudden gets his courage and kind of mans up and goes, get him. And I turn and I look back over my shoulder and I put my arms out. Like, okay. And then one of David's friends puts his hands on David's chest and pulls him back. I was like, no, we're good. I put my hands down and I walk away. So I walk back to the Canyon Crest Town Center now, and I meet up with Carla. We hang out for a little bit longer, and eventually Carla's mom comes, picks her and Heather up, and they end up taking off. And so now I'm going to walk over to Carl's Jr. to call my dad and have him come pick me up. And as I'm walking over there, I end up seeing one of David's friends who I recognize. I don't know him, but I knew of him. And this guy is he's been in martial arts his whole life. I think he was actually a black belt in something. For the life of me, don't remember what. But he used to do a lot of competitions. And he actually makes a point to come walking up to me. Nobody else, just him. He walks up to me and I'm thinking, oh crap, are we going to end up doing a one-on-one here in the parking lot or what? But he comes up non-threatening, just says like, hey man. I was like, hey, I wanted to apologize to you about what happened. I was like, okay, what do you mean? He's like, we really shouldn't have gotten involved. And he's like, be honest, that fight between you and David probably shouldn't have happened anyway. But even with it did, we shouldn't have jumped in. You know, that was bullshit on our part. You know, that shouldn't have happened. My bad. I was like, that's all right, dude. And so we ended up bumping knuckles. He says, also, that was good shit. I said, what do you mean? He says, you had 7 of us standing behind you in Pizza Hut. David called you out and you didn't back down. You had the balls to walk out there and do it. It's like, then you handled yourself real well when everything else went sideways and we were fighting you in the street. And then you had the balls to walk up to us across the street in the apartment complex and you know, do what you did. Like, that took guts. Like, okay. And he says, that was awesome. You know, he gives me another knuckle bump. And he says, you don't have to worry about us anymore. You know, it's all good. I'm like, all right, man. You know, so we said our piece, and he went his way, I went mine. And, you know, to be honest, I don't ever remember seeing them at the Canyon Crest Town Center again after that. You know, they may have been up there, they just might have missed me, but I spent a lot of time up there. A lot of time, especially in my sophomore year. I spent a ton of time there, and I never saw them again. Think about it. Weird as that was. But yeah, that was fun. Anyway, hope you enjoyed that one. Maybe it'll give you a little more background on my mentality, but yeah. Anyway, if you have any memories of me at that time frame or any of these kind of events that led up to this or what have you, I would love to hear them, so that we can make a new video and kind of go with it. But yeah, thank you for watching. Have a good one.